I am Gloria Thompson, 38 years old, and until yesterday, I was the Finance Authorization Manager at Westfield Enterprises for 16 years. I poured my heart into this company, built security around my role, and never imagined my career could vanish in a 15-minute meeting. When HR called me in with our new VP of Operations, Liam Harrison, I expected budget discussions. Instead, I heard, "Your role has been eliminated. Clear out by end of day." I just smiled. Before I tell you how I turned this devastating moment into my greatest victory, drop a comment telling me where you are watching from, and subscribe to join our resilience community. My journey at Westfield Enterprises started when I was just 22, fresh out of college with an accounting degree and big dreams. I still remember my first day walking into the modest office building with sweaty palms, wearing a suit I had splurged on with my graduation money. Rebecca Wallace, the founder and then CEO, personally welcomed me as an accounting assistant. That was something special about Rebecca. She made time to know every employee by name regardless of their position. "You have meticulous attention to detail," Rebecca told me, after I caught a significant error in our quarterly reports during my second month. That moment marked the beginning of my rise at Westfield. From accounting assistant, I moved to junior financial analyst, then senior analyst, and by my 7th year, I became the Finance Authorization Manager. This wasn't just any managerial position. As Westfield grew from a regional player to an industry leader, Rebecca implemented stricter financial controls. My unique role involved being the final authorization signature for all financial transactions over $50,000. It was a responsibility I took incredibly seriously. During my 9th year, when cybersecurity became a growing concern, I worked with our IT department to design a special encrypted digital signature protocol. Patrick Nelson, our IT director, and I spent months perfecting this system. "This signature verification is brilliant," Patrick said when we finally implemented it. "The biometric verification adds a security layer that would be nearly impossible to bypass." The system required my digital signature, plus a biometric verification for all major financial movements. Rebecca loved the extra security, especially as the company expanded internationally and transactions grew more complex. Those years of growth were magical to be part of. I watched Westfield transform from a company of 40 employees to over 500. Our original office, where you could hear everyone's conversations, gave way to a stunning glass building downtown, with the company logo visible from blocks away. I grew with the company, gaining expertise and confidence alongside increasing responsibility. The financial stability allowed me to put down roots. I purchased my first home, a charming 3-bedroom townhouse just 20 minutes from the office. I helped put my 2 younger siblings through college, something our parents couldn't afford when I was their age. Westfield wasn't just my employer, it was the foundation of the life I had built. The company culture during those years reflected Rebecca's values. Birthdays were celebrated with personalized cakes. Annual retreats brought departments together for team building and strategic planning. When my father passed away suddenly 5 years ago, Rebecca sent flowers and told me to take all the time I needed. My closest colleagues became like family. Amanda Rivers from HR became my confidant, always sharing insights about company dynamics over our Thursday lunch dates. Patrick from IT continued collaborating with me on security upgrades, our professional relationship evolving into genuine friendship. Diana Chen in marketing would stop by my office every morning with coffee, and we would chat about everything from work projects to dating disasters. The first hints of change appeared about 2 years ago. Rebecca announced her plans for semi-retirement at the annual company meeting. "I will remain as chairwoman of the board, but it's time to bring in new executive leadership to take Westfield to its next phase of growth," she explained. None of us knew then how dramatically that next phase would alter our professional lives. Rebecca began stepping back, appearing in the office less frequently. New executives joined one by one, bringing fresh perspectives, but also unfamiliar methodologies. Most of us welcomed the changes initially, understanding that evolution was necessary for continued success. When Rebecca introduced Walter Kent as the new CEO, we all applauded politely. He seemed competent with an impressive resume from larger corporations. What we couldn't foresee was how quickly Walter would bring in his own team of executives, people who had no history with Westfield, no connection to its culture, or understanding of what had made us successful. The golden years were fading, but my loyalty to Westfield remained unshaken. I believed in what we had built and was committed to helping the company navigate this transition. I still had my crucial role, my signature authority, and 16 years of institutional knowledge. Surely that counted for something in this new era. The shift began subtly. Rebecca went from being in the office daily to appearing just once or twice a week, then only for board meetings. Walter Kent, our new CEO, spoke constantly of modernization and corporate efficiency in ways that made our previous operations sound primitive, despite our consistent growth and profitability. 6 months into Walter's leadership, he announced Liam Harrison as our new VP of Operations. Tall, always impeccably dressed in custom suits, Liam carried himself with an air of superiority that was immediately off-putting. During his introduction at the company-wide meeting, he talked about his Harvard MBA and successful corporate turnarounds at 3 previous companies. Westfield has great bones, but outdated processes were among his first words to us. My job is to bring this company into the modern business era. The atmosphere changed almost overnight. Our casual Friday tradition disappeared, replaced with a strict dress code policy. The open-door management approach that Rebecca had championed gave way to formal meeting requests and scheduled appointments. Time-tracking software was installed on all computers, monitoring productivity in ways that felt intrusive and unnecessary. I tried to adapt, replacing my comfortable business casual wardrobe with more formal attire and learning the new protocols. While I missed the warmth of our previous culture, I understood that different leaders had different styles. What troubled me more deeply were the subtle dismissals of long-term employees and our contributions. My first direct interaction with Liam came during a finance department review. When I explained the signature authorization protocol I had developed with Rebecca, he barely looked up from his tablet. "That sounds unnecessarily complicated," he commented. "Most companies have moved to distributed authorization models. We will need to streamline that." I attempted to explain the security benefits and how the system had prevented several potential fraudulent transactions over the years, but he cut me off. "We will review all legacy systems in due time," he said, emphasizing legacy as if it were synonymous with obsolete. Shortly after, I noticed Natalie Peterson, Liam's executive assistant, observing my department with unusual interest. She would ask detailed questions about our procedures, taking copious notes. When I inquired about the purpose of her information gathering, she smiled thinly. "Just helping Liam understand the current workflow," she replied, though something in her expression suggested more. The first wave of reorganizations came 3 months after Liam's arrival. The customer service department was completely restructured, with half the team let go and replaced with a new outsourced call center. Marcus Reynolds, who had managed customer service for 12 years, was given a choice: accept a significant demotion or leave with 2 weeks severance. "They're clearing out anyone who remembers how things used to be," Marcus told me over coffee after he chose to resign. "Be careful, Gloria. Your position is high-level enough to be noticed." I dismissed his concerns, perhaps naively believing my specialized role would protect me. After all, every major financial transaction still required my authorization. The company literally couldn't function without my signature. Department after department underwent efficiency restructuring. Human resources lost 3 long-term employees, including my friend Amanda, who was replaced by Heather Wilson, someone Liam had worked with previously. It was next, with Patrick being demoted from director to senior specialist, reporting to a new IT director who had no experience in our industry. "They're bringing in their own people," Patrick warned me during our lunch. "I'm updating my resume. You should too." Still, I remained committed to Westfield. This was the company that had given me my career, where I had spent my entire professional life. I couldn't imagine starting over somewhere else at 38. Instead, I focused on documenting all my processes, meticulously hoping this would demonstrate my value to the new leadership. The rumors about finance department reorganization started circulating about 4 months ago. Diana from marketing, who still maintained our morning coffee ritual, despite her own department's changes, mentioned hearing Liam discuss financial authorization restructuring with Walter in the executive conference room. "They were talking about distributing signature authority across multiple positions," she whispered. "And Liam mentioned something about your role specifically." Anxiety began to gnaw at me. I started arriving earlier and staying later, ensuring everything in my department ran flawlessly. I volunteered for additional projects and attempted to schedule a meeting with Liam to discuss process improvements I had identified, but his assistant Natalie repeatedly told me his calendar was full. One evening working late, I overheard Liam on the phone and his office door ajar. "Yes, I think we can move forward with the finance restructuring next month," he said. "The signature authority transition might be tricky, but nothing we can't handle." "Yes, Justin would be perfect for overseeing the new system. He has the right experience from when we worked together at Meridian." I walked to my car that night with a heavy feeling of foreboding. Justin Blackwell had recently been hired as a financial consultant, and rumor had it he was an old colleague of Liam's. The pieces were beginning to form a disturbing pattern, but I still couldn't believe they would eliminate a position as crucial as mine without extensive transition planning. How wrong I was. The meeting request from HR appeared in my inbox at 8:30 on a Tuesday morning, marked urgent. "Please attend at 9 a.m. Conference Room B." No agenda, no explanation. My stomach immediately knotted, but I told myself it could be about the upcoming benefits enrollment or quarterly review schedules. I arrived at Conference Room B precisely at 9. My notebook and tablet in hand, professional as always, despite my growing unease. The room fell silent when I entered. Liam sat at the head of the table, expression impassive. Beside him was Heather Wilson, the new HR director, holding a manila folder. Justin Blackwell sat opposite them, not meeting my eyes. "Gloria, please have a seat," Heather said, gesturing to the chair across from her. I sat down spine straight, willing my hands not to tremble as I placed my notebook on the table. The silence stretched uncomfortably before Liam cleared his throat. "Gloria, as part of our ongoing restructuring efforts, we've been reviewing all departments for efficiency opportunities." He began, sounding as if he were reading from a script. "After careful consideration, we've determined that your position of Finance Authorization Manager is being eliminated effective immediately." The words hit me like physical blows. 16 years of dedicated service dismissed in a single sentence. Effective immediately, I managed to ask, my voice surprisingly steady despite the chaos erupting inside me. Heather nodded, sliding a document across the table. "Your final paycheck will include 2 weeks of severance pay in accordance with company policy for your level. We'll need you to clear out your desk and return your company property by the end of today." 2 weeks. After 16 years. I thought of the colleagues who had been let go before me, of Marcus and Amanda, who had warned me this was coming. I thought of Rebecca, who had promised long-term employees would always be valued at Westfield. And my responsibilities, I asked, professional mask still in place while internally I was screaming. "The signature authorization protocol requires specific credentials." Liam waved his hand dismissively. "Justin will be overseeing the transition to a new distributed authorization system. We'll need you to provide all passwords and access credentials before you leave today." Justin finally looked at me, a flicker of discomfort crossing his face before he nodded. "I'll come by your office after this meeting to begin the handover." As Heather detailed the exit procedures, my mind raced through implications. The signature system wasn't something that could simply be handed over. It required my biometric verification, a security feature I had specifically designed with Patrick. They couldn't just replace me without a complete system overhaul. "You'll need to sign these documents acknowledging receipt of your severance information." Heather continued, pushing more papers toward me. The irony wasn't lost on me. My signature, so crucial to the company's operations, was now being requested on my own termination papers. I signed mechanically, years of professionalism preventing me from the emotional outburst building inside. As the meeting concluded, Liam stood up without offering a handshake or even making eye contact. "Justin will assist with your transition out," he said, already checking his phone. "Thank you for your service to Westfield." Service. As if I had been a replaceable component rather than someone who had dedicated my entire career to building this company. Back at my office, I began mechanically packing personal items into a cardboard box provided by HR. Photos of company retreats where we had all smiled like family. Award plaques for excellence in financial management. The crystal paperweight Rebecca had given me on my 10th work anniversary, engraved with, "Your attention to detail makes Westfield secure." Justin hovered awkwardly in my doorway. I need your system passwords and access credentials, he said, tablet in hand. And if you could walk me through the signature protocol, that would be helpful. I provided the standard system passwords, but explained truthfully, the signature authorization requires biometric verification through my personal credentials. It's not something I can simply transfer to you. The system was designed that way intentionally as a security measure. Justin frowned. There must be an override or admin process. There is, I acknowledged. But it would require Rebecca Wallace's approval and presence along with the IT directors. It was designed to prevent exactly this kind of sudden transition. As I continued packing, Diana slipped into my office, eyes wide with shock. Gloria, I just heard. This is insane. How can they just eliminate your position with no transition? Before I could answer, Justin cleared his throat. I need to continue the handover process. Could we have some privacy? Diana squeezed my arm and whispered, Call me later, before reluctantly leaving. As lunchtime approached, I overheard Liam and Justin talking just outside my office door, clearly unaware I could hear them. Don't worry about the signature thing, Liam was saying. It can override whatever system they have in place. The important thing is getting her out today before the quarterly authorizations are due. Once she's gone, we can implement the new structure we discussed. What about her institutional knowledge? Justin asked. 16 years is a lot of experience to lose overnight. Most of it is irrelevant to our new direction, Liam dismissed. Besides, this creates the perfect opportunity for you to establish the processes the way we did at Meridian. Much more efficient. Their voices faded as they walked away, but the message was clear. This wasn't about efficiency or restructuring. This was about Liam bringing in his own people, clearing out anyone connected to the old Westfield. By 4:30, I had packed my belongings and completed all the exit paperwork. Heather arrived at my office with a security guard, a final humiliation. Company policy requires an escort for departing employees with high-level system access, she explained, not quite meeting my eyes. As we walked through the office, colleagues stared, some turning away awkwardly, others offering sad smiles or whispered goodbyes. I held my head high, refusing to give Liam or anyone else the satisfaction of seeing me break. At the security desk, I surrendered my badge, watching as 16 years of identity was dropped into a drawer. The guard accompanied me to my car, where I carefully placed my box of belongings in the trunk. Only when I was driving away from Westfield Enterprises for what I thought was the last time did I allow the tears to come. Not just for my job, but for the betrayal of everything I had believed about loyalty and value in the workplace. What I didn't realize then was that this wasn't the end of my Westfield story. It was merely the beginning of an unexpected power shift that no one, especially Liam Harrison, had anticipated. The numbness lasted until I reached my townhouse. I carried my box of office belongings inside and set it on the kitchen counter, staring at the physical remnants of my career. 16 years reduced to a single cardboard box. I sank onto my couch, finally allowing the full weight of the day to crash over me. My phone buzzed. Amanda's name appeared on the screen. Despite her own termination 2 months earlier, we had remained close, meeting weekly for coffee and job hunting strategy sessions. Gloria, I just heard from Diana. Those absolute vultures, Amanda said when I answered. Are you okay? I'm still processing. I admitted, my voice hollow. 2 weeks severance, Amanda. After 16 years. It's disgraceful, she agreed. But listen, there's something you should know. The reason I'm calling. Amanda had maintained friendships with several colleagues still at Westfield, including Judy from payroll. According to Judy, my termination had been planned for weeks, part of a larger strategy Liam was implementing. Justin Blackwell was hired specifically to replace you, Amanda explained. Liam brought him in from Meridian Corporation, where they worked together. He's systematically replacing Rebecca's leadership team with his own people. This confirmation of my suspicions should have been devastating, but instead, a strange calm began to settle over me. Something Amanda said triggered a memory. Amanda, did Judy mention anything about the signature authorization protocol? I asked. No, why? I sat up straighter, mind racing. Because Liam doesn't understand how it works. None of them do. When Patrick and I had designed the signature protocol 4 years ago, cybersecurity was becoming a major concern for financial institutions. Rebecca had asked for the most secure system possible, regardless of convenience. Make it bulletproof, Rebecca had instructed. I don't want a single dollar moving without proper authorization. The system we created required 3 layers of security: my digital signature biometric verification, through my fingerprint, and a unique authorization code that changed every 30 days. Most importantly, the system required me to personally verify and reset it monthly. Without that verification, the entire authorization protocol would lock after 30 days, requiring a complex override that only Rebecca and the board chair could initiate. Amanda, they have no idea what they've done, I said, a hint of amazement in my voice. The signature system will lock them out completely in less than 30 days, unless I personally reset it. What happens then? Amanda asked. No financial transactions over $50,000 can be processed. No vendor payments, no payroll above that threshold, no international transfers, nothing. The implications were staggering. Westfield processed millions in transactions every month. Without authorization capability, operations would grind to a halt within days of the system locking. I hung up with Amanda and immediately called Patrick. Though demoted, he still worked in IT and understood the signature system better than anyone except me. They did what he exclaimed when I told him about my termination. Without transition planning for the authorization protocol, that's insane. Does Justin have any way to override it? I asked. Patrick laughed, though there was no humor in it, not a chance. We designed it specifically to prevent unauthorized access. The only override requires Rebecca's biometric verification, the board chair's approval code, and physical access to the secure server. Even then, it would take days to implement a replacement. As we talked, another call came through. Diana. I switched over to hear her breathless voice. Gloria, it's chaos here already. Accounting tried to process the international vendor payments and they can't get authorization. Justin is freaking out and Liam looks ready to explode. A part of me, the part still raw from betrayal, felt a surge of vindication. But the professional I had always been reminded me that Westfield employed hundreds of people who depended on the company running smoothly. What are they saying about the signature protocol? I asked. Justin told Liam you mentioned something about biometric verification, but Liam dismissed it. He told IT to just fix it, like it was a simple password reset. After hanging up with Diana, I spent the evening researching my legal position. My termination had been abrupt, but technically legal in our at-will employment state. However, the signature protocol was different. I had designed it under specific direction from Rebecca, and its functioning had been documented and approved by the board of directors. The system was doing exactly what it was supposed to do, preventing unauthorized access. More calls came that evening. First from Heather in HR, her voice noticeably less confident than during our morning meeting. Gloria, we seem to be having an issue with the financial authorization system. Justin mentioned you explained some biometric component. Yes, I confirmed calmly. As I told Justin, the system requires my biometric verification for security purposes. It's not something that can simply be transferred. Could you come in tomorrow to help with the transition? She asked. I'm afraid that wouldn't be appropriate given the terms of my termination, I replied. As explained to me this morning, my position has been eliminated effective immediately. Next came Justin himself, panic evident in his voice. Gloria, we have payments that need to go out tomorrow. International vendors who won't wait. How do we process them without your authorization? You can't, I said simply. The system was designed that way intentionally as a security measure against exactly this type of abrupt personnel change. But there must be some way around it, he insisted. There is an override protocol, I acknowledged, but it requires Rebecca Wallace's involvement and board approval. It was designed to prevent unauthorized access to company funds, Justin. It's doing its job. As evening turned to night, I made one more call, this time to Rebecca Wallace. Though semi-retired, she remained chairwoman of the board and deserved to know what was happening. Gloria. Her familiar voice brought unexpected comfort. I just heard about your termination. I'm absolutely shocked. This was not how things were supposed to be handled. I explained the situation with the signature protocol, keeping my tone professional despite my personal feelings. They didn't consult me about eliminating your position, Rebecca said, anger evident in her voice. Walter assured me all staffing changes would be handled with appropriate transitions, especially for long-term employees. The current issue is that Westfield cannot process major financial transactions without resolving the authorization protocol, I explained. I'm concerned about the impact on operations. Let me handle this, Rebecca said firmly. And Gloria, don't agree to anything without proper legal review. You deserve better than how you've been treated. That night, as I lay in bed processing the day's events, I realized I held significant leverage. Not because I had designed the system to be difficult, but because I had designed it to be secure. In eliminating my position without proper transition, Liam had created a crisis entirely of his own making. The question now was how to use this unexpected power. Revenge would be easy, but ultimately self-defeating. I needed to approach this strategically, maintaining my professionalism while ensuring I received fair treatment. Tomorrow would require careful navigation between standing up for myself and preventing harm to the company I had helped build for 16 years. The first call came at 7:15 the next morning. Accounting department frantic about vendor payments due that day. The second call at 7:20. Payroll concerned about processing the executive compensation run. By 8 a.m., my phone had rung 5 times, with increasingly urgent requests from different Westfield departments. I let each call go to voicemail, listening carefully to understand the full scope of the crisis unfolding. As I sipped my morning coffee, an email arrived from Liam himself. Gloria, there appears to be an issue with the financial authorization system that requires your immediate assistance. Please come to the office this morning to facilitate a quick fix. Your cooperation will be noted and appreciated. Liam Harrison. The dismissive tone, the assumption I would drop everything to solve his problem, the lack of acknowledgement of how I had been treated. All of it confirmed I was dealing with someone who saw people as disposable resources rather than professionals deserving respect. I composed a careful reply. Mr. Harrison, I understand Westfield is experiencing issues with the financial authorization protocol. As I explained to Justin yesterday, this system requires specific security verifications that cannot be bypassed without proper procedures. I would be willing to discuss a consulting arrangement to assist with an appropriate transition. Please have legal contact me to discuss terms. Gloria Thompson. Professional, helpful, but firm. I was no longer an employee who could be commanded to appear. If they wanted my expertise, they would need to negotiate for it properly. Liam's response came within minutes. This is not a negotiation. The system you managed is company property. Failure to assist could be viewed as interference with business operations. It was a threat, thinly veiled, but unmistakable. I forwarded the exchange to my personal email for documentation and consulted the employment lawyer I had contacted the previous evening. Her advice was reassuring. You have no legal obligation to provide free consulting services after termination, she confirmed. The system functioning as designed is not interference. If anything, an improperly handled transition could potentially be considered negligent on the company's part. Armed with this knowledge, I prepared for my next move. The phone rang again. Westfield's legal department this time. Miss Thompson, this is Gregory Wells from Westfield Legal. We'd like to discuss the authorization system issue and how we might resolve it quickly. His tone was considerably more respectful than Liam's suggesting. The legal team understood the precariousness of the company's position. I'd be happy to meet with you, Mr. Wells, I replied. Would 2 p.m. today work? I can come to your office. The law offices of Simmons & Wells was a neutral location, neither my home nor Westfield's headquarters. I arrived precisely at 2, dressed in my best suit, carrying a folder of documentation about the signature system and my termination. Gregory Wells greeted me courteously, ushering me into a conference room where Liam and Justin already waited. Liam's expression darkened when he saw me, but Justin looked almost relieved. Thank you for coming, Miss Thompson, Gregory began. We have a situation that requires resolution. The financial authorization system appears to be locked in a way that prevents necessary business operations. The system is functioning exactly as designed, I replied calmly. It was implemented at Rebecca Wallace's request specifically to prevent unauthorized financial transactions. The monthly verification requirement was documented and approved by the board of directors. I opened my folder and slid across copies of the original system specifications complete with board approval signatures. The security protocol requires my biometric verification every 30 days. Without it, the system locks as a safeguard. This is not a malfunction, but a security feature intentionally built to protect Westfield's financial integrity. Liam leaned forward, barely containing his frustration. This is absurd. No critical business function should depend on a single employee. I agree completely, I replied evenly, which is why I recommended implementing a transition period of at least 60 days when discussing any changes to the Finance Authorization Manager position. I have documentation of those recommendations dating back 3 months, all of which were ignored. I produced copies of emails I had sent to Liam, suggesting transition planning for critical systems, none of which had received responses. Gregory reviewed them with growing concern, while Liam's face flushed red. The current situation is the result of hasty termination without proper succession planning, I continued. I'm willing to help resolve it, but I'll require appropriate terms for my consulting services. What exactly are you asking for? Gregory inquired. I laid out my reasonable terms: severance pay commensurate with my 16 years of service, a consulting fee for transition assistance, continued health benefits during the transition period, and a letter of recommendation acknowledging my contributions to Westfield. This is extortion, Liam snapped. No, Mr. Harrison. This is a professional negotiation for consulting services you urgently require, I corrected him. Extortion would be threatening to withhold assistance. I'm offering help, but at appropriate market rates for my expertise. Gregory looked uncomfortable. We have major client contracts that require payment processing this week. International vendors who won't wait. The quarterly financials are due to be processed next week. I understand the urgency, I acknowledged, which makes proper compensation for my assistance all the more reasonable. Liam stood abruptly. This is ridiculous. We'll have IT override the system. We don't need her. Justin shifted nervously. We've already tried that. Patrick says it would take weeks to rebuild the system from scratch, and even then we'd need board-level authorization codes. Liam's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his expression changing. Rebecca Wallace is calling an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning, he announced, glaring at me. Did you contact her? As former CEO and current chairwoman of the board, she deserved to know about a critical system issue affecting company operations, I replied. Just as I would have informed her of any significant operational risk during my employment. The meeting ended without resolution, but I left feeling confident in my position. I had been professional, offered a reasonable solution, and documented everything. The ball was now in their court. That evening, Rebecca called me directly. The board meeting is at 9 a.m. tomorrow. I'd like you to attend to explain the authorization system and the current situation. Of course, I agreed. I'll bring full documentation. Gloria, she added before hanging up. I want you to know I had no idea they were handling terminations this way. Walter and Liam have been making decisions without proper board oversight. That ends tomorrow. The next morning I arrived at Westfield's headquarters for the first time since my termination. The security guard, looking confused upon seeing me, made a call before reluctantly providing a visitor badge. Rebecca met me in the lobby, embracing me warmly. I'm so sorry about how this was handled, she said. Let's go show the board exactly what kind of leadership they've enabled. The boardroom fell silent as we entered. Walter and Liam sat together on one side, faces grim. The other board members, many of whom had known me for years, nodded in greeting. I've called this emergency meeting to address a critical operational issue and the concerning management decisions that created it, Rebecca began. Gloria Thompson, who served Westfield faithfully for 16 years, will explain the current situation with our financial authorization system. For the next 20 minutes, I presented a clear, factual account of the signature protocol, its security features, and the proper transition process that should have been followed. I explained how the abrupt termination without transition planning had created the current crisis, and outlined my proposed solution. In summary, I am willing to provide consulting services to transition the system properly, ensuring Westfield can continue operations without interruption. My terms are fair and reflect standard practice for my level of expertise and the urgency of the situation. Board members asked thoughtful questions which I answered directly. When Liam attempted to characterize my position as obstructive, Rebecca cut him off. The system is functioning exactly as we requested it to function when it was implemented. The failure here is in management's handling of personnel transitions, not in the security system itself. Walter shifted uncomfortably. Perhaps we moved too quickly with certain staffing changes. Perhaps Rebecca raised an eyebrow. You eliminated a critical position with no transition plan, offering 2 weeks severance to someone with 16 years of dedicated service. That's not just poor management. It's disrespectful and potentially negligent. The board moved to executive session, asking me to wait outside. 30 minutes later, Rebecca emerged with a document in hand. The board has approved your consulting terms, she said, handing me the agreement. Additionally, they've instructed legal to prepare a proper severance package reflecting your years of service. Walter and Liam have some explaining to do about other recent personnel decisions. As I signed the agreement, Diana rushed up to us. Gloria, thank goodness you're here. We just discovered some irregularities in the international payment approvals from last month. Transactions that somehow bypassed the standard verification process. Rebecca's expression darkened. What kind of irregularities? Payments to vendors I've never heard of, approved outside normal channels, Diana explained. I only noticed because I was trying to process similar payments today, and couldn't without Gloria's authorization. Rebecca turned to me. It seems your security system may have prevented more than just an operational disruption. Once you've restored authorization functionality, I'd like you to review all transactions from the past 3 months. As I walked back into Westfield as a consultant rather than an employee, I caught sight of Liam in heated discussion with Walter. His face was flushed, his gestures animated. He had thought eliminating my position would consolidate his control. Instead, it had exposed vulnerabilities in his leadership and potentially questionable financial activities. I began the process of temporarily restoring system functionality while documenting everything meticulously. This wasn't about revenge. It was about professionalism, accountability, and protecting the company I had helped build. The signature that Liam had so casually dismissed as unnecessary had become the very thing that might reveal the true nature of his efficiency measures. Over the next week, I worked as a consultant at Westfield, carefully maintaining professional boundaries while conducting a thorough review of the authorization system. The board had approved my consulting rate, which was 3 times my former salary, acknowledging both the urgency of the situation and my specialized expertise. My temporary workspace was in a small conference room near finance, deliberately away from my former office, which Justin still occupied. Each morning I arrived with a clear agenda and documented every finding meticulously. Diana stopped by frequently, bringing coffee like old times and updates on office politics. Liam is furious, she whispered during our second day. He's been shut out of the financial review process completely. Rebecca has Patrick monitoring his system access. The financial review quickly uncovered concerning patterns. Under Liam's direction, the approval process for certain vendors had been modified, creating a loophole in the verification requirements. 3 new international suppliers had received payments totaling over $800,000, despite having minimal documentation and no prior relationship with Westfield. These transactions should never have been approved, I explained to Rebecca and the audit committee. The authorization workaround was implemented the week after I raised concerns about proper vendor verification procedures. Rebecca's expression was grim. And coincidentally, right after you sent Liam those emails recommending transition planning for any changes to the authorization system. The implications were clear. Liam had been planning to eliminate my position specifically to remove the oversight I provided. The question was whether his motivation was simply to bring in his friend Justin, or something more concerning. We need to trace these payments, Rebecca decided, and determine who these vendors actually are. While the financial investigation proceeded, I worked with Patrick to design a more robust authorization system. Rather than returning to a single-point verification, we created a dual authorization protocol that maintained security while eliminating dependency on any one individual. This will require 2 independent authorizations for transactions over $50,000, I explained during the presentation to the board. One from finance and one from operations, with rotating authorization duties among approved senior managers. The system will automatically flag any attempts to bypass verification. The board unanimously approved the new system, Walter, looking increasingly uncomfortable as the financial investigation progressed, actually complimented the design. This addresses the single-point dependency issue while maintaining strong controls. On my 5th day of consulting, Rebecca called me into her office, closing the door behind me. The external auditors have traced those mysterious vendor payments, she said without preamble. 2 of the companies are subsidiaries of Meridian Corporation. Liam's former employer, I noted. Yes. And the 3rd is registered to a holding company owned by none other than Justin Blackwell's brother-in-law. Rebecca shook her head in disgust. They were siphoning funds to companies connected to them personally, using a system workaround implemented right after you raised concerns. That explains why they were so eager to eliminate my position without transition, I said. My monthly reviews would have eventually caught these irregular payments. Rebecca nodded grimly. The board has called an emergency executive session for tomorrow morning. Liam and Justin have been suspended pending the outcome. Walter is claiming ignorance, but his days are numbered too. He either knew and was complicit, or was oblivious to major fraud happening under his watch. Neither scenario inspires confidence. The next morning, I arrived to find security escorting Liam and Justin from the building. Liam's face contorted with anger when he saw me, but the security guards moved him along before he could speak. Justin simply looked defeated, eyes downcast. An hour later, Rebecca announced Liam and Justin's termination to all staff, citing serious violations of company ethics and financial protocols. Walter would be transitioning to an advisory role effective immediately, a face-saving way of saying he was being removed as CEO. While this is a difficult moment for our company, Rebecca continued addressing the assembled employees. It also represents an opportunity to recommit to the values that built Westfield: integrity, respect, excellence. The board has asked me to resume CEO responsibilities temporarily while we conduct a proper executive search. A spontaneous round of applause erupted from the staff. Many of the long-term employees looked visibly relieved, while newer hires seemed confused but cautiously optimistic. After the announcement, Rebecca pulled me aside. I have a proposal for you, Gloria. We need someone to oversee the implementation of the new financial authorization system and ensure proper controls are in place going forward. A new position, Vice President of Financial Integrity and Compliance. The offer was generous with compensation, exceeding my former role and direct reporting to the CEO. Under different circumstances, I might have accepted immediately. But the past week had shown me something important about myself and my capabilities. I'm deeply grateful for the offer, Rebecca, I replied carefully. But I'd like some time to consider it. This experience has opened my eyes to other possibilities. During my week of consulting, 3 other companies had reached out after hearing about my situation, each interested in my expertise in financial security protocols. Several former Westfield employees who had been terminated during Liam's tenure had contacted me about potentially working together. There was a need in the market for the specialized knowledge I possessed, and perhaps an opportunity to build something of my own. Rebecca smiled, understanding in her eyes. Of course. Take the time you need. The offer remains open, but I suspect you may be ready for a new chapter. Sometimes being pushed out of our comfort zone is the best thing that can happen to us, even if it doesn't feel that way at the time. 2 days later, with the new authorization system successfully implemented, I completed my consulting engagement at Westfield. My final meeting was with Rebecca and the board, presenting a comprehensive set of recommendations for ongoing financial governance. The systems we've implemented will prevent the specific issues we encountered, I explained, but corporate governance is about culture as much as controls. When employees feel valued and secure, they're more likely to raise concerns and identify problems before they become crises. As I gathered my belongings to leave Westfield for the second time, the contrast with my first departure couldn't have been more striking. Instead of being escorted out carrying a cardboard box, I walked out surrounded by colleagues offering thanks and good wishes. Instead of feeling betrayed and powerless, I left with a sense of vindication and new possibilities. In the parking lot, Diana hugged me tightly. "You showed them all what integrity looks like," she said, "and proved that expertise has power that no corporate title can match." I drove away from Westfield Enterprises that day, knowing that while one chapter of my professional life was ending, a new, and potentially more rewarding one, was just beginning. The signature that Liam had dismissed as unnecessary had ultimately revealed his true character and opened doors I hadn't even known existed. 3 months have passed since that final day at Westfield, and my life has transformed in ways I never imagined. The consulting work I began during that crisis has evolved into Thomson Financial Systems, consulting my own boutique firm specializing in financial authorization protocols and security systems for mid-sized companies. My first client, Westfield Enterprises, now with Rebecca back at the helm as interim CEO. We established a retainer agreement for quarterly system audits and ongoing compliance consulting. The arrangement provides me with stable income, while I build my broader client base and gives Westfield the benefit of my institutional knowledge, without the limitations of traditional employment. Amanda joined me as my first employee, bringing her HR expertise to complement my financial security knowledge. Together, we've developed a holistic approach to organizational security that addresses both systems and culture. Patrick frequently consults with us on IT integration, and we're discussing bringing him on full-time as our client list grows. Word about Liam's departure spread quickly through industry circles. An investigation revealed that similar financial irregularities had occurred at 2 of his previous employers, though they had been quieter about addressing the issues. His reputation in shambles. Last I heard, he had relocated to another state, attempting to restart his career far from those who knew his history. Justin faced more serious consequences. The financial fraud investigation resulted in criminal charges against him and his brother-in-law. The case is proceeding through the legal system, with Justin reportedly cooperating in exchange for leniency. Walter retired quietly, his reputation diminished but not destroyed. The board allowed him to characterize his departure as a personal decision in exchange for his full cooperation with the financial investigation and governance reforms. Rebecca called me last week with news that I found deeply satisfying. The board has approved a new policy requiring minimum 60-day transitions for all senior positions with appropriate severance packages based on years of service, she told me. They're calling it the Thomson Transition Protocol. My client roster now includes 3 former Westfield vendors who were impressed by my handling of the crisis, 2 local companies seeking to strengthen their financial controls, and most surprisingly, one of Westfield's competitors who recognized the value of proactive security measures. The townhouse, that once felt like a refuge from office politics, has become my business headquarters with a professionally renovated home office and small conference room. My dining table, once the site of solitary meals, now regularly hosts strategy sessions and client meetings. This journey has taught me lessons I never expected to learn at this stage of my career. I discovered that true job security comes not from longevity at a single company, but from developing specialized knowledge and maintaining professional integrity. The very skills that made me valuable to Westfield make me valuable to many other organizations, often on better terms than traditional employment offers. I learned that building systems, properly documenting processes thoroughly, and maintaining professional standards, even in difficult circumstances, creates a foundation that cannot be easily dismantled. Liam tried to eliminate my role, but discovered that my value wasn't in my title, but in my expertise and the systems I had carefully constructed. The hardest lesson came in those first days after termination as I processed the betrayal of my loyalty. 16 years of dedication had ended with a coldly calculated dismissal. Yet now, with perspective, I recognized that attachment to a single organization had limited my vision. The crisis forced me to see possibilities I had never considered, to value my skills in market terms, rather than company hierarchy. Most importantly, I discovered my own resilience. The professional identity I thought was shattered has reformed into something stronger, more autonomous, and ultimately more satisfying. I now control my schedule, choose my clients, and set my own standards. The income uncertainty of self-employment is balanced by the profound satisfaction of building something that truly reflects my values. Rebecca and I meet monthly for lunch. Our relationship evolved from employer-employee to mutual respect between business leaders. During our last meal, she asked if I regretted not accepting the vice president position she had offered. Not for a moment, I answered honestly. That role would have been a promotion within the same framework. This is a completely different path, one I never would have discovered without being pushed out of my comfort zone. Sometimes our greatest opportunities come disguised as our worst setbacks, she observed. She's right, of course. The signature authority that Liam tried to eliminate became the very thing that revealed his deception and launched my new career. The expertise he dismissed as unnecessary proved essential not just to Westfield, but to a market I hadn't realized needed my specific skills. Now I sign my own checks, approve my own business decisions, and authorize my own future. My signature, once valuable only within Westfield systems, now represents a growing brand built on integrity and expertise. If you're facing a similar betrayal or unexpected career disruption, remember this. Your value isn't defined by your employer's recognition of it. The very skills that made you valuable in one context can often create even greater opportunities elsewhere. The signature you place on your work, the unique expertise you bring to your field, has power that transcends any single job title or organization. Have you ever had your skills or contributions dismissed only to have their value dramatically demonstrated later? Share your story in the comments below. And if you're navigating your own career transition, hit subscribe for more insights on turning setbacks into professional growth opportunities. Remember to like this video if it resonated with you and share it with anyone who might need this message of resilience today. Thank you for joining me on this journey, from corporate betrayal to entrepreneurial success. Until next time, this is Gloria Thompson, reminding you that sometimes losing your position is just the first step to finding your power.